Hello, people. Welcome to another edition of A Dose of Drew and Friday Night Knives. And tonight we have the QSP Vault, a Justin Lundquist design with what they're calling a glide lock. That is a sort of, I don't even know what to call it. It's a switch activated crossbar lock. It's a crossbar lock. That's for sure. But it's got these interesting switches that are on it. It's different, and it's sort of lower profile, which without having the larger the studs there, having the slightly lower profile bits is interesting. But yeah, it's also right in that mid area. So let's take a couple of measurements off the tail of the tape here. And we've got 7.5 inches tip to tail and 3 3/8 tip to scale, pretty much, at the shortest point. So in that under 3.5, under 8 inches, kind of mid-size bits, which isn't bad. It is not a lightweight. It is an aluminum bolster with steel liners and micarta. Comes in several different flavors. This is the black washed. It is 14C28N steel, and it being aluminum and steel, not nested. There's some milling to skeletonize it, but not exactly a lot. It is 4.06 ounces. It actually advertises as 4.3, so it comes in under advertised, but it's just over 4 ounces. Which is not lightweight, but it's not super heavy either. And it does give it a substantial feel in the hand, which is nice. And let's get to some of the rest of the quick little comparisons here. We have the Spyderco sandwich with the paramilitary too. As you can see, similar blade length, really close. And similar hand space in a smaller package. And the Para 3 lightweight. Both of these in the S45 VN steel. As you can see, again, similar hand space, if not just a little bit more, and even more blade length than the Para 3. So you get quite a bit here. It's in, again, that mid-size, giving you a lot of value for the money, a lot of punch for the dollar, so on and so forth. Of course, it is just a blur. As you can see, more hand space than the blur. Of course, not the same edge for the size, and not just any leak, but a random leak. And once again, hand space. The leak has quite a bit, but this one has it beat just a little bit, and blade length is very similar. So you get a whole lot of value here. You're getting a whole lot of knife in the package that it comes in, which is outstanding. And let's take a look at some of the best sellers. All right, so now we've got the Benchmade Bug out. This one is the S30V with the Flytanium scales. As you can see, you get a lot of blade. Very similar blade with a bit more hand space. And the Civivi Elementum. As you can see, similar blade. A little bit more on this one, but also very similar hand space. So you get quite a bit in there, right? Like it's some of the things that are great about all these are there. The thing that's different about this from these, the QSP from these two, these are both extraordinarily lightweight. The QSP is not. That 4 ounces is not something you're going to want to carry in some nylon shorts, I'll put it that way. And of course, here it is next to my Wiener. Though they are approximately the same size, I'm going to say that upward curve of my Wiener is the better way to have it, and that's all there is to say about that. All right. Design, aesthetics, mechanics. Noteworthy points, intended purpose, cost-to-value ratio, and expectations, and of course, any possible requests for nicer. First things first, the design, the glide lock design. The little finger grabs, they're focused on the pivot, which is nice, and they seem like they might be a bit of a dirt monster. I don't have a lot of that problem, but they do seem like they could be a bit of a grit issue where you may have to disassemble to clean. But that's Again, try not to drop your knife in the sand. You'll avoid that problem, but it still could be a possible issue for dirt, grime, lint, and all that sort of stuff. If you're using this on a hard day, it could be something you need to clean out. Have I had a problem with it? No. In fact, I took a dab of oil to it, and it has worked like a champ the whole time. It looks really good. The ergonomics, the dog leg style is one of my absolute favorites in several different modified bits. You could even call the gun stock on like the Real Steel Solus a modified dog leg. A lot of gun stocks do. A lot of gun stocks do have a sort of a dog leg modification to them, which is quite frankly, honestly, very, very nice. It fits right in the hand. This is fantastic. It does a really good job in the saber grip of tucking into the hand right there. Right, so you get a really good, comfortable saber grip. But where it really shines is when you start to do the overhand grip, and it tucks right onto the backside of your hand. And then you have this really good overhand grip, whether you're choking up and it's there at the back little pad, or you're rolled over in sort of a score or anything like that. The little pad and then the hump that goes into the swell that goes into the valley of your hand just makes it an ergonomic pleasure. And it's not the thickest blade stock ever. Purposely saved this for later just to see how many people will wait to get to the very end. Zero that out. Blade stock is 0.1155, so that's a 0.116. Let's see. But thinness behind the edge, I can tell you this is QSP has great edges. This is no exception. Let's see if I can't. So 16, that's actually a really good measure. 16 thousandths behind the edge. It might be 15, but that's right behind the edge. Not the thinnest ever. The thinnest ones I've seen are as low as 10 to 11, and I have seen 13, but 15 to 17 is really low for a production knife. And this is no exception. That's incredibly thin behind the edge. 14C28N can take that thin edge. They advertise it as 59 to 61. We would hope for the higher end of that, but anywhere between 60 and 61 is a really good hardness for 14C28N. Even if on a production knife you happen to get a 59.5, it's still going to be really good. It'll tend to hold an edge and be extraordinarily tough and resistant to deformation at that high hardness, while also being able to take a fair amount of impact without breaking. So there's, that's important. It can flex. It can hold an edge at that thinness. They aim for a really good hardness for the steel. Again, 61 would be the hope, but anywhere between 60 61 is going to be pretty nice, especially for a production process knife. I think the design of it goes into. I particularly like the light micarta with the black, the sort of black and tan look. Definitely goes well together. I think it's classy. The end mounted clip is a great one that's sunk in, so you don't have any clothing rollover, but you still get all the benefits of the absolute tail mounted clip. It's a nice rounded one that goes out with no horizontal bill. Some people like it, some people don't. For some people, it provides a place to grab with your finger that isn't pokey. For others, it's just an annoyance for every time you try and put it in your pocket. So, nice compromise between the two. Very sleek. There's only a couple of screws holding on to micarta. This covers one. It provides very clean lines. The end mount also just makes it look like it's just a solid line that goes with it. Very clean and elegant on the aesthetics, on the design. It's nice and tucked in when it's closed. It's very nice when it's open, and it has almost a kitchen knife look and feel to it. And while it looks like a knife, it's not the scary kind of knife, and it definitely looks like a tool while still having that pokey, stabby, slicey we all love. And the mechanics of the Glide Lock are actually, like I said, I would like to think that it might be a dirt monster, but I haven't taken it out and dumped it in the sand or anything because, well, I'm not silly to try and test that. Everything else, this I haven't been light on it. It just doesn't actually attract dirt. I even put some oil on it thinking it might, and it just kind of worked the oil off. Had to wipe it down, and then it's just worked fantastically. So I thought there might be, but I just quite honestly haven't seen it. And the edge, the stock edge on this baby, oh my goodness. See how smooth this sounds. Like curved lines, no problem. Thin slices. Where it can super thin slice the paper. Hoping you can hear how smooth that is on its slicing. It's basically ridiculously sharp. 14C 28N takes a great edge. This comes from the factory with a very good edge. It's nice. And it has a good aesthetic line. The mechanics work quite good. The noteworthy points on it, it's QSP. It's $86. We'll come back to that. So it's not the cheapest knife in the world, but they do live up to the quality, service, and price. We know QSP has good service. This is contoured. It's aluminum on top of steel with micarta. They're all the same price, so it doesn't matter what you get as your thing. They're pretty much all the same price with 14C28, and it just comes in like different colors and other styles for whatever style you particularly like. It's not the cheapest thing out there, but it does have a unique lock. The aluminum feels high class, and it's very well done. And the micarta, of course, is good. It's really, really good burlap natural micarta. It might be canvas. That's canvas. I take it back. That's not burlap. That's canvas micarta, which is pretty good. And it has that stickiness that we love while smooth on the pivot. It's very, very high quality feel. And so it really delivers, which is, its intended purpose as an EDC knife is actually very, very apparent. Because this is, I can do anything. This is an I can do anything knife. It's got this really low drop point with a long flat and a sort of almost bull nose front that gives it a lot of long slice capability with the tip being controllable, as well as a very, well, it's not an acute tip, it's a very well supported tip at a very thin slicey geometry. So it's not super acute, but it's thin and slicey, which makes it very useful. High saber grind is about as good as a flat. The thumb stud is completely out of the cutting path while still being in the perfect place, and the choil is very well done. Its intended purpose is an EDC and multiple grips while serving everyone with an old world dog leg. It almost looks like a fishtail with the end mounted, but with lots of, Justin Lundquist is the designer and quite obviously has put in a ton of thought into how an EDC knife might get used on it every day, because it does it all. It is a package piercer that is a very fine tip that looks dainty, except then you look at it like that and it's not very acute. It's got a lot of steel working with it. So it is a package piercer. Absolutely. It is a shrink wrap slicer. You can not only choke way up, if you want to really control it, you can maneuver that tip through and keep it, sort of in a space where you just push it right on through that heavy plastic. Very, very useful. Works very good for that. Cardboard carver. Absolutely. In fact, the overhand grip on this makes for a very easy slice down corners and stuff like that. Decent geometry, not the thinnest blade stock, but very thin behind the edge. And 14C2, that really fine edge just carves right through it. It really is a cardboard carver. And in the upside down, it really is an envelope eviscerator. The tip gets was just tall enough to hit the edge of the envelope slice, and then the right angle of that works very good. So it does that, as well as a lot of other tasks, whether it is a sort of lever grip or an envelope eviscerator. It does it all well. So it does all of those tasks, and I really believe that's part of the intended purpose and the noteworthy points. It's not over high class, but it's some of the best materials and craftsmanship at this price point. It's as good as anything at this price point. There's nothing you can look at this price point and say, oh, it's that much better. The steel, maybe you like a steel better. Maybe you find something that's got titanium instead of aluminum. Maybe it's nested liners. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe there's one or two things you like better, but it's not more well done than this knife. And that's a pretty bold statement to say. Is there cheaper knives that do things well? Yeah. Or there's ones that are close to it, like this versus a Vosteed raccoon, in fact. Let me grab one of those. Crossbar. This one's like $59, I believe. So it's 60. This one's 86. So for 26 more bucks, you get the bolster, you get the extra little bit, you get the micarta, this has micarta, but you get the bolster parts. This one still has a deep carry clip. You get the glide lock and some ergonomics that are quite sublime. Is it worth the extra 26 bucks? That's hard to say. The Raccoon is an outstanding value. It's one of the best value knives out there with the 14C28N that's really well heat treated, and just a design that's outstanding. This is right up there with it, and it has some refinement that may or may not be worth the extra 20-something bucks to you. For me, I think it presents a value that is really close. Well, that was, I believe the Raccoon was a 98 when I did it on value, either a 96. I think the only one that got a 98 is the Real Steel Solus. But we'll continue to see what happens on that, and what, as far as some more, and that works. But this is really hard to not say it's outstanding. I wouldn't change anything. Yeah, you could have a higher class one, and it may be almost as good, but then you run into price where you start going over $100. So this is actually really good at a good balance. I could see a higher class one, and it may go there. I'm going to try and keep this quick tonight, you guys, because this is an outstanding value that kind of puts a cost on refinement. There's ones you can find that have more better materials at a higher price point that may not be as refined. There's ones with similar materials at a lower price point that may not be as refined. But this is good budget materials refined to their utmost at the mid-budget price category, and it does it very well. Highly recommendable, 94. So yeah, the design, great aesthetics, I like it. The mechanics work flawlessly. Noteworthy points, intended purpose, it's a great EDC knife. The cost to value is right about 94, about the same value I'm going to give it. And I really don't have any requests, though I can see the value in a higher end version. So it's really out there. And with that, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this. This has been the QSP Vault, and this has been your dose of Drew. So go ahead and take this video, watch it twice, comment as much as you like, be mindful of side effects. Remember to like and subscribe. This has been your dose of Drew. I am said Drew, and you guys have a great rest of your night.